Coming up on Network Africa. Members of Senegal's parliament debate proposal to postpone general elections. M23 armed group allegedly attack UN helicopter in the Democratic Republic of Congo, plus death toll from Kenya gas explosion rises to 6 as fresh gas leak reported. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Senegal, where lawmakers are debating a proposal to postpone the presidential election scheduled for later this month. According to reports, the parliament is expected to discuss a proposal to hold the vote on the 25th of August and keep Mr. President Macky Sall in power until his successor is installed. President Macky Sall had announced on Saturday that the vote would be delayed following a dispute about the eligibility of candidates, sparking a wave of criticism from opposition leaders and also international concern. The announcement also triggered protests on Sunday, with security forces firing tear gas to disperse hundreds of people in the capital, Dakar. Several people, including former Prime Minister Aminata Toure and Anta Babaka, one of the presidential candidates in the election, were arrested. Now, there have been international calls for a new date to be set as soon as possible due to fears of further instability in the country. Well, joining us now for more discussions on this is African Affairs analyst Okwe Okpala. Thank you so much for your time. On Saturday, President Macky Sall announced the postponement of the elections that are supposed to be held, on February 25th. What are your thoughts, on hearing that announcement?
Well, what came to my mind is not again in West Africa. Because for some time, democracy and constitutional government has been in recession. From Mali to Niger, from Niger to Burkina Faso. And Senegal is one of those countries in West Africa you say that have been a bit stable, even if they are not completely, even if you cannot say they are example in democracy, but they have been a bit stable. However, the signs have been there because first President Macky Sall wanted to seek for a third term. And when he noticed how unpopular, and then he agreed and said, look, okay, I'm not seeking third term again. Then quickly there were arrests. He started making arrests. Ousmane Sonko, one of the opposition leaders, was arrested, was charged with defamation and assault and whatever things. And then, continually, he was hacking into the freedom of democracy and participation by the opposition. And then, these signs have been there, but then nobody anticipated that it will make this well, most people did not anticipate this move, but because it's a frontal attack on the constitutional governance as far as Senegal is concerned. So it was saddening because, again, when Africa is trying to clear up the mess that is there, it appears that its leaders are beginning to deposit more, create more problems, and then Senegal in particular supposed to be an example, as to what constitutional governance is. What many countries look up to Senegal, thinking that at least there have been a bit of stability. There have been a bit of, for some number of years, constitutional governance, they have been transitioned from one government to another without problems. But now it appears that is about to change, and it's very saddening for Africa and for West Africa.
Indeed, especially at this time when, the West African region has seen several coups over the last few years. But could this have, any impact on the country and also the West African region?
Of course. The West African region, just a few days ago, we are talking about Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger pulling out from ECOWAS. And then at the heart of why they pulled out was because of sanctions that was imposed on them because because of queues. However, and so now you are about to, if Senegal continues in this direction, probably there will also be very soon. They will also have unconstitutional government, a government that did not come through this constitution or whose time has expired. And of course, you see already there are demonstrations, there are bonfires, there are, and if care is not taken to, there will be violence. And then when things go out of hand, it will be difficult for Africa, for West Africa and ECOWAS to manage the situation of Senegal, and at the same time they are trying to bring back Niger and others. So it has implication for Senegal, for stability of Senegal, for democracy in Senegal, for prosperity of people of Senegal, and also it extends to the West African region and indeed to Africa. Because this is a bad example. It's beginning to give the impression that look, constitutional government is difficult in Africa, partly because our leaders, they pay lip service to democracy and constitutional government. When they are in the opposition, they will shout, but when they have power, they begin to abuse those power and will not allow free and fair election to hold, so that they can be accountable. And then so it's really, really it will have a very big implication and very big impact on West Africa, and particularly stability in Senegal may be difficult to be sustained.
And just like you said, following his announcement, this has set off a chain of events. We've seen protests, and we're also hearing that, there's been an internet shutdown in Senegal. But President Sall says he's delaying the vote because of a dispute between the National Assembly and the Constitutional Court over the rejection of candidates. How do you suggest this is resolved that perhaps could see the vote hold on February 25th, just like it had been planned?
When there is a will, there is a way. And when there is no will, you can invent 1,000 excuses. I think what the president, Macky Sall, is a mere excuses. Because these things are foreseeable, and there are constitutional ways to resolve disputes in a democracy. It does not call for extra constitutional measures like postponing election before you can resolve disputes. I mean, and then again, he is guilty of. It's just like he himself and his allies have been using the courts to manipulate and to restrict the participation of opposition members. Like when Osman Sonki, I mean, it was the government that prosecuted him, and even the issue of whether he's qualified or not qualified stemmed from the actions of government. That look, he was given suspended sentence. So you generate this crisis, and then you use the crisis you generated as basis for postponing the election so that you stay longer in power. I mean, these are playbooks of most African countries, African leaders. So I don't think if he had the will to conduct election and hand over, then these matters would have been resolved, and it could have been foreseen. The process have started long time ago, and then just at the time the full campaign is supposed to start, then you postpone. So he should have raised those issues, and it would have been resolved long before now. But I don't think he's sincere. I think he just want to have a tenure extension, and probably and that's why he's taking those measures. I don't think his measure is altruistic at all.
All right then, Mr. Okwe Okpala, thank you so much for your time and your insights on the program. We see how it all pans out, in Senegal as the days go by. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
We'll move on to Namibia. The country has a new president after the unfortunate death of Hage Geingob. Well, Nangolo Mumba was sworn in after he had announced the passing of his predecessor. The 82-year-old President Geingob died early on Sunday while receiving medical treatment at a hospital in the capital, Windhoek. He was a veteran of the country's independence struggle and had been diagnosed with cancer, only revealing the details to the public last month. New President Nangolo Mumba will serve in the role until elections are due later this year. At a swiftly arranged swearing-in ceremony at the State House, that was just 15 hours after the death of the president, Mr. Mumba says he will not be around for the elections. The ruling party, SWAPO, in power since the 1990 independence, had chosen Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah as the presidential candidate for November's planned elections. She has now been appointed vice president and will become the country's first female president if she wins. Well, the fight against regional insecurity cannot be achieved if West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS countries promote sanctions over dialogue, as has been the case in Niger Republic. Well, this is the position of members of various civil society groups at a forum to highlight the dangers and implication for disintegration of ECOWAS member countries. The forum urges dialogue to mitigate disintegration of ECOWAS and also to ensure the speedy restoration of democratic rule in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso.
Any attempt to disintegrate, the unity of ECOWAS will not be able to defeat extreme violence, will not be able to defeat terrorism, will not be able to defeat people who are engaging in border crimes activities, or even, using drugs to, destroy the people of West Africa. So therefore, it is important that ECOWAS deploy its own effort strategy to partner with civil society in the region to ensure that we promote peaceful coexistence, we promote economic integration and political stability in those countries. Otherwise, it will be extremely difficult to achieve this united front that we are looking at, because ECOWAS over the years has been a shining example of other regional blocs in Africa, and therefore we cannot allow disintegration of ECOWAS. And if there are challenges or issues with any member country, there must be dialogue, not aggression, not sanction. So we are totally against the sanction imposed on Niger Republic, because it is the people, the women, the children, the vulnerable that are suffering from this inhuman sanction. So we call on quick removal of this sanction and also commence the process of dialogue to ensure restoration of democratic order in Niger.
And because ECOWAS, as it has been configured over the years, is sort of a club of countries, of heads of states, but the narrative is about moving ECOWAS from an ECOWAS of states to an ECOWAS of peoples, in line with the ECOWAS Vision 2050 program. So we need ECOWAS to begin to have that genuine conversation around how it defines entry points for citizens' aspirations to be able to direct its programs and its principles, its strategies, its plans. Beyond that, I would say that also that there needs to be a genuine conversation about democracy in our region.
To other stories now, authorities in the disputed Abyei region say at least 37 civilians have been killed and 18 abducted in renewed attacks in the area between South Sudan and Sudan. Now, this is the latest attack in a 3-year-long spate of clashes in the oil-rich region. The area's interim administration says the majority of those killed during the weekend raid were women and children. Markets and residential areas were torched and 1,000 heads of cattle looted. It accuses 2 armed youth groups from Warrap State in South Sudan of raiding the area and carrying out coordinated attacks on 4 different villages within Abyei. Abyei remains a contested area between Sudan and South Sudan, even as the 2 countries have not yet resolved the dispute over the final status of the region. Welcome back to the program. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, presumed members of the M23 armed group attacked one of the United Nations helicopters, resulting in the injuries of 2 South African peacekeepers. While briefing reporters in New York, UN spokesperson Stephen Dujarric said this happened in the Karuba region in the North Kivu province in Masisi territory. The attack has also been strongly condemned by the head of the United Nations Organization Stabilization Mission in the DRC, MONUSCO.
A quick update from our peacekeeping colleagues in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. They're reporting that earlier today, presumed members of the M23 armed group fired upon one of our UN helicopters, and that took place in the Karuba region in North Kivu province near Masisi territory. The incident resulted in the injuries of 2 South African peacekeepers, including one who was seriously wounded. The helicopter was able to land safely in Goma, and the peacekeepers are currently receiving medical attention. In a press statement today, the head of our peacekeeping mission there, Bintu Keita, strongly condemned the attack against an aircraft bearing the UN emblem, which comes almost a year after a similar attack caused the death of a South African peacekeeper. She recalled that attacks against peacekeepers may constitute war crimes. The mission will spare no effort in cooperation with the Congolese authorities to bring the perpetrators to justice. Meanwhile, the head of our peacekeeping department, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, joined by Catherine Pollard, the Undersecretary General for Management, Strategy, Policy and Compliance, along with Christian Saunders, the Special Coordinator on Improving UN Response to Sexual Exploitation and Abuse, are all in the DRC. They arrived in Beni in North Kivu today, where they will continue their visit to the eastern part of that country.
The death toll from a deadly gas explosion that struck the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, last Thursday has risen to 6. And nearly 300 people were also injured in that blast, and 52 others are being treated in different health facilities. Houses, businesses and cars were damaged when a lorry carrying the gas exploded in the Embakasi district on Thursday night, igniting a huge ball of fire. Kenyan police say they are pursuing 7 suspects linked to the explosion, including the alleged gas plant proprietor, Derek Kimati. However, Kenya's President William Ruto is blaming incompetent and corrupt government officials for allowing the gas plant to operate in a residential area. Authorities have also evacuated residents from the area after a suspected fresh gas leak was reported today. Nairobi's county head of disaster management says the evacuation is just a precautionary measure and that authorities have welcomed Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority to identify if that is a threat. Last week, several residents said to have spoken to local media that authorities had ignored their reports about a gas leak hours before the fatal Thursday night explosion. Will Cyrus Ombati is a Kenyan journalist in Nairobi. He joins us now for more on this. Hello, Cyrus. Thank you for your time. What is the update at this time with the suspected fresh gas leak in that area?
Thank you so much for having the show. Well, the authorities rushed there today morning when they had locals complain that there was a gas leak in the area. So they combed the whole region, the whole place which was affected, and they found out whatever was being said, it was not true. Actually, there were 3 tanks which were there, which were empty, were found empty, which had been burnt actually, which they said they were empty, so there was no cause of danger or alarm, or to say the least. However, the whole thing had caused alarm panic in the region, forcing some residents to run away from the area. It actually made people rush the area emergency providers who went and checked the whole place and said it was now safer for people to go back. For today, we understand one of the directors, the owner of the yard where the explosion took place, surrendered to police, so he's under investigation currently as we are speaking.
Indeed, one would not want, a repeat of Thursday's explosion last week. But let's talk about those that have been affected by this. Unfortunately, the death toll has risen to 6. How is the government assisting, the injured and those that are still in hospital?
We understand that the government has mobilized a number of resources to help those who are displaced or rather homeless currently, because there are almost 400 people who don't have places to sleep because their houses were burnt down or damaged. They are camping in a school where they are being provided with their shelter, food, and other amenities for their survival. Those who are in hospital, they are getting free medical care as much as they say on the same. But then we went to the area and people are complaining that the conditions they are living in are horrible, so they need much, much more service and help from the government. However, we can say that there's enough food, there's enough kind of sleeping materials for them to sleep. So it's a temporary measure which they are taking so far for them to be able to build their homes or go back.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Sarah Sumbati, Kenyan journalist in Nairobi.
Thank you so much, sure.
All right, it was a disappointing outing for Nigerian Afrobeat stars at this year's 66th Grammy Awards as Burna Boy, Davido, Tems, RS Star, Olamide and Asake, all Nigerian Afrobeat stars, failed to win from 10 nominations across 5 categories. The Nigerian contingent lost the inaugural Best African Music Performance trophy to South African singer Tyler, who earned the prize with her 2023 track Water. All the categories the Afrobeat stars contended in were announced at the Grammy premiere ceremony, where dozens of prizes are handed out before the main live telecast show. 2021 Best Global Album winner Burna Boy and compatriot Davido lost the category this year to Shakti. The World Fusion band won with the album This Moment, beating Burna Boy's I Told Them and Davido's Timeless albums and others. The duo did not fare better in the corresponding Best Global Music Performance category, also losing to Indian composer Zaki Hussain for the track Pashto, featuring Bella Fleck and Edgar Meyer. And finally, on the program, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has congratulated singer Tyler for winning the inaugural Grammys for Best African Music Performance for her viral global hit, Water. Well, she is the first artist to win the coveted new category, beating Nigeria's Burna Boy, Davido, Ira Star, and Asake, who had been nominated for the award. In an ex-post, Mr. Ramaphosa said the singer added herself to the list of eminent South African artists and musicians who have made an indelible mark on the world stage. Well, some Africans, however, have hailed Sunday's Grammy as a historic moment for the continent's talent, with Tyler winning the Grammy, Nigeria's Burna Boy performing on stage, and South African comedian Trevor Noah hosting the music's biggest event for a record 4th consecutive time. A big win for Africa's finest. That's it on the Network Africa for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.